My dear students, good morning. Today I am going to discuss a most important chapter under organic chemistry. Here, mainly many topics, subtopics present in this will cover entire organic chemistry. So, minimum 8 to 10 questions are asked from this unit. So, this is the most important chapter. I will call it as a basic concept of organic chemistry. You have studied first unit, a basic concept of chemistry general. This is a basic concept of organic chemistry. Kindly follow me. I am Dr. R. Gunasekharan, Professor of Chemistry, who is taking class for you. Under the basic concept of chemistry, let me give the important topic regarding this. Subtitles 1. Introduction and purification of organic compounds. Then 3. Qualitative and quantitative analysis of organic compound. That is deduction and estimation of elements. Determination of empirical formula, molecular formula. After knowing the formula, now we have to name the organic compounds, one by common name, another by IUPAC name. And the most important is isomerisms. And lastly, the most important is reaction and mechanism. Reactions and mechanism. This is the most important. Under this, again a number of subtitles are there. That is electron displacement effect and types of reaction mechanism. So we are going to discuss nearly 15 subunits under this chapter. So first let me give some introduction regarding organic chemistry. Before 1800, at the 18th century, it was believed by all chemists that all organic compounds were isolated only from plants and from animals, but they cannot be synthesized in the laboratory. Please follow. So what it was believed earlier, before 18th century, no organic compound can be synthesized from in the laboratory, but only they can be isolated from plants and animals. So for that, a theory was proposed. That theory was called vital force theory or vital force theory. Okay. But unfortunately, after 18th century, that is 1828, a German scientist Höhler accidentally synthesized an organic compound in the laboratory by heating ammonium cyanate. So he got an organic compound urea. Ammonium cyanate formula NH4CNO. The organic compound formula NH2CO NH2, same molecular formula, but different functional group, different arrangement of atoms. Kindly follow. So the entire vital force theory was disproved. So after this, many people started synthesizing organic compound. So first one acetic acid was synthesized. Then one by one, so now millions and millions of organic compounds are available. So most of the medicines are only organic compounds. Kindly follow. Okay. Now, so when we are getting organic compounds, either from plants or from animals, that is by isolation, or when we synthesize from the laboratory, normally they will not get a single component. It will be a mixture of 3, 4, 5, sometimes even 10, etc. So what will happen now? So we have to purify this organic compound. That is the first unit I am going to discuss today, purification of organic compound. So when you say organic compounds, so the compound may be the solid, may be the liquids or gases. Kindly follow. Depending upon the nature, we have to follow different method of purification techniques. First one, methods suitable for solid organic compounds. What are the methods? One, crystallization is a method suitable for solids. Fractional crystallization, sublimation under reduced pressure are the most important methods applicable for solid organic compounds. Let me give detailed information regarding crystallization, then I will go further. First one, what is crystallization? Kindly follow me. Crystallization is a process by which a solid organic compound can be purified from unwanted impurities by using a suitable solvent. Please follow. By using a suitable solvent, we can crystallize the solid in pure form from other unwanted impurities. That is called crystallization. So, this crystallization involves a number of steps involved. See here, I will read one by one, kindly listen me. Selection of suitable solvent. This is the most important part of the crystallization. You have to select a suitable solvent. Number two, preparation of solution. We have to prepare the solution. Number three, filtration of the solution. Number four, we have to crystallize the solid. 5. We have to separate the crystal without disturbing. Kindly follow. These are the steps. So first step, let me discuss in detail. Selection of suitable. How we have to select? The most important, we have to select such a way that the solid should be insoluble in cold solvent but soluble in hot. Please follow. This is the very, very important condition. So when you want to crystallize any solid, you see that you select a solvent such a way that so the solid organic compound should be insoluble in cold. When you add in cold, insoluble. But when you boil, that is in hot condition, it is soluble. A simple example, I can give all organic acids, benzoic acid, salicylic acid, etc. If you put it into water, it is insoluble. But simply boil, it is soluble. So that is the condition. Number two, the solvent should be highly volatile. Highly volatile means easily vaporizable, low boiling. Because after the making the solution, we are allowed to form crystallization. So solvent should evaporate slowly, automatically, without disturbing. So highly volatile. Number three, the solvent should be chemically inert. That means during crystallization, the solvent should not react with the organic solid. Kindly follow. Number that is 4. D. The solvent should be non-poisonous. When you are handling this solid, it should be poisonous. It is a danger for us. So it should be non-poisonous. The next, the solvent should be cheaper. So we cannot suppose I want to crystallize sodium chloride. For example, sodium chloride is very, very low cost. Suppose I am selecting a solvent of 1 liter, some 1 lakh rupees. Is it correct? No. The solvent should be cheaper in it. What is the cheaper solvent? Universal solvent is water. So first always try with water. Then next, normally, what the solvent will be normally available in the organic. Next, we will think of ether. acetone, methanol. The next we will go for ethanol, chloroform. So these are the solvent normally we are going. Okay. The next one, the solvent should be readily available in the market, readily available in the commercially available to purchase. Now, second important step is, so after selection of suitable solvent, we have to prepare solution. So depending upon the quantity of solid you are going to crystallize, it takes suitable solvent, quantity of solvent. So normally 1 gram means 1 gram solid means approximately 50 to 100 ml solvent you can use. So how to prepare? Take the solvent 50 to 100 ml, add 1 gram of solid to the powder form and then just stir it. Then we have to heat it in the tripod stand, place over that this beaker, and just with the help of burner you can boil the solutions. After boiling, the solution is prepared. That is, solid is soluble in solvent, so solution is prepared. Now next step is, when it is hot, we have to filter. So there is a special apparatus for this condition. So filter while hot, that is the most important condition, because other unwanted impurity which is insoluble in hot water, that can be filtered easily. So kindly follow. The next is, see, just this is the arrangement of apparatus, a tripod stand, there is a burner, a beaker contains a solid, organic, solid in suitable solvent. In suitable solvent. So when we are boiling, it will be becoming solution. So when it is hot, what we have to do now? We have to fill it. This is a special apparatus. There is a funnel, and the covering this, the hot water can be passed through. So we have to collect in a beaker so that is the solution, hot water solution. You filter through this. There is a filter vapor in the here. So through the filter vapor, you just to filter this one. So hot solution will come here, collect in a beaker. So filter while hot. This is a hot funnel. The hot water is passed through the side tube, so that inside the funnel will be always hot, so it will not crystallize during filtration. Right, next one. So after this filtered solutions, and just allow to crystallize. What we have to allow to crystallize? Please keep it on a table without disturbing for minimum 1 hour or 2 hours. So since the solution is solvent is volatile, highly volatile, slowly vaporized, so you will get crystal forms. For example, simply I can give a specific example. In the case of benzoic acid, normally we will use hot water, that is water is used for the crystallization. Benzoic acid solids will be flake-like, like this. Whereas salicylic acid, the crystals will be needle shaped. So very easily we can able to differentiate benzoic acid and salicylic acid from the crystal, nature of formation of crystal itself. So after the formation of crystals, so filter carefully, separate the crystal carefully by filtration without disturbing the crystal nature. So as I already informed you, specific example, all aromatic acids in hot water, using hot water we can. I told you benzoic acid and salicylic nature crystals. So that is regarding for general crystallization. What will be next one? Fractional crystallization is also suitable for solid. Fractional crystallization is a process by which two or more solids can be separated into single component by using suitable solvent. That means we will have a mixture of A and B. So we have to separate A separately, B separately, but so that we have to again use suitable solvent, such a way that A and B should be insoluble in cold but soluble in hot. But when it is soluble, definitely one will be more soluble, other will be less soluble. Kindly follow. So what will happen now? During crystallizations, the less soluble solid will come first as a crystals. We can separate that, and then after that, the more soluble, that is more soluble solid will crystallize second. A specific example using this method, sodium sulfate and sodium chromate can be separated using water. The same way, potassium chloride and potassium chloride using water we can separate. This is a simple inorganic compound I am giving example. Sublimation. This is our most important special case. What is sublimation? We can apply for a special type of organic compound. Sublimation is a process by which a volatile organic solid can be purified by heating the solid to convert into vapors without melting into liquid, and these vapors on cooling giving back the original solid. Example, camphor organic, iodine inorganic, even benzoic acid we can use for this. Kindly follow. Naphthalene, all the higher hydrocarbons we can use like this. Kindly follow. So sublimation is a process by which a volatile organic solid, please follow, volatile, highly volatile organic solid can be purified by heating the solid to convert into vapor. That means solid directly converted into vapor without melting into liquid. So normally solid means we will have three stages. Solid will become liquid and liquid will become gas. But in this case, this stage is not present. Solid directly converted into vapors without melting into liquid. And these gases on cooling back gives back original solid. So we are getting pure form. Example, camphor, iodine, etc. So this is the apparatus used for the special simple apparatus, a tripod stand with the flame. So here over the tripod stand we can place an wire gas, and a china dish we can keep over that, and over the china dish a filter paper will be placed. Then you take a funnel and invert over that, and the whole of the funnel is packed with cotton. Kindly follow. This is cotton packed inside. This is the inverted funnel, you know already. The mixer we are taking here. The mixture of impure mixture of solid we are taking here. So what is happening? So this is the perforated asbestos sheet. So when we are heating the china dish containing impure solid with the help of a burner, so the solid becomes converted into vapor form. Vapor will pass through the filter paper. So other unwanted impurities will be retained in this china dish itself. So when this vapor, there is no way to escape, gets sublimed on the walls of the container, that is our funnel. So remove the funnel after the reaction is completed, then scratch with rod or spoon. You can take the solid, pure solid you can take it. So camphor can be purified by this technique. Another important thing, sublimation under reduced pressure. Some solids undergo decomposition during heating. So there is a special apparatus here. So this same procedure should be conducted inside the vessel so that there will be a high pressure is maintained. This solid can be purified under reduced pressure. So same type of the heating will be conducted inside a vessel, but inside a vessel a vacuum is created, reduced pressure, so the decomposition will be avoided. Kindly follow. Next one. So far what we have discussed methods suitable for solids. Now I will go for methods suitable for liquids. 1. Distillation. 2. Fractional distillation. 3. Distillation under reduced pressure. And 4. Steam distillation. Let me discuss one by one. So, under the distillation, what is distillation? First, let me define. I will come back the example. Distillation is a process by which a liquid can be purified from unwanted non-volatile impurities by using a suitable solver. Please follow. The apparatus was used for distillation. Kindly follow impurities. Kindly follow. Distillation is the process by which a liquid can be purified from unwanted impurities by heating. Kindly follow. By heating or by distillation. By heating or distillation. Kindly follow. The apparatus used for distillation is, I will show below. When the impure liquid is boiled in a distillation flask, metal apparatus, with the thermometer at the top and receiver connected by the water condenser at the side tube, the thermometer records the boiling point of the liquid, pure liquid, and will be collected, the pure liquid will be collected in the receiver. Kindly follow. There are 3 important points I am going to discuss under distillation. In the case of liquid having boiling points higher than 110, more than 110, so we can use simply the water condenser is replaced by air condenser. Simply air condenser you can use instead of water condenser. The second point, for ordinary distillation is suitable for 2 or more liquids boiling by different greater than 40. Say for example, in this case, benzene boiling point 80 degree, toluene boiling point 110 degree. So what is benzene? This is benzene and this is toluene. Only difference is methyl group. So they are very close. Benzene 80 degree, this is 110 degree. So difference is only 30. So ordinary distillation is suitable for 2 or more liquids having point difference greater than 140 degree. If it is less than 40 degree like this, we cannot use. Kindly follow. Ordinary distillation we cannot apply for benzene and toluene. While distilling a highly inflammable liquid, kindly follow, ether, specific example, alcohol, such as ether, the distillation flask is heated on a water bath, not with direct flame, but heated on water bath and not on direct flame, using wire gas and ice water is used in the water condenser for circulation to collect pure ether. Kindly follow. These are the information regarding I am going to give. Kindly follow. This is the apparatus used for the distillation. So this is the distillation flask having one hole rubber cork at the top. A thermometer is introduced. This is the water condenser sideways through which a receiver is collected, which is there. Receiver is there. So we are taking the impure liquid here, and with the help of the burner, so we are boiling. So a small 1 or 2 glass the beds pieces you can put it inside to avoid bumping. So while you are boiling, the vapors will go outside, and this vapor passes through the condenser where water is connected here. Kindly follow. Through this, and it is coming out like here. So this is connected to the what we can say the water tap, and through this bottom water is going upward and going outside, and again coming back to the tap. So what will happen now? The water is going on passing there. So whenever vapor pass through this condenser called water condenser, so this vapor gets condensed, converted into pure liquid. We are collecting the pure liquid here. So unwanted impurities, other things will be retained in the flask itself. So how can we note that? Identify when we have to connect the receiver, when the boiling point is constant. Say for example, if I take water, boiling point is 100. You take the ethyl alcohol, boiling point 78.3. So if you want to calculate the purify the alcohol like this, so you should be very careful. Kindly follow. So whatever, suppose let us say a liquid is having a boiling point, benzene is 80-degree boiling point. So just wait up to 80 degree. So the temperature will remain constant, it will not move. Started, the drops will come out. So now you connect the receiver and you take your benzene fully. Kindly follow. Suppose after 80, if it is increasing, means there some other impurity may be there. You can use another receiver to collect the second liquid. This is the way you have to use this apparatus. Kindly follow. So I explained the distillation carefully because all other distillation I will go fast. So by distillation method, what we can prepare? We can separate these benzene and nitrobenzene. See the difference, more than 40. Ether and ethyl alcohol, more than 40. Chloroform and aniline, we can separate. So all mixture of two or more liquids, we can separate by distillation. Kindly follow. Next one. Fractional distillation. Kindly follow. What is fractional distillation? Let me explain this. A fractional distillation is the process by which two or more liquids can be separated by using fractionating column. Using fractionating column. Kindly follow. Suppose I have given example here. So these are the benzene, nitrobenzene, diethyl ether, ethyl alcohol, chloroform, aniline. See, it is more than 40 degree. So more than 40 degree, ordinary distillation set will be sufficient. But in the case of fractional distillation, kindly follow, I told you, if it is less than 40 degree difference is present, example benzene 80 degree, toluene structure I have written 110. So it is only 30 degree different. So we cannot separate by ordinary distillation. We have to use a fractionating column. This is the fractionating column. What I can show you in detail, kindly follow. What will be like this? There is an opener and it will be here. Kindly follow. So kindly follow here. Through this opener, the liquid will come out, will connect to the condenser. So it will be, just imagine this way, there are different types of condenser, the fractionating column. So imagine, suppose we are taking benzene and toluene. So when you heat at 120 degree, let us assume, both the benzene and toluene got evaporated. So when they are moving upward, so they will go and hot vapors go and hit the cooler parts of these parts. When it gets cooled, which will first condense immediately. Toluene is having higher boiling point, will get condensed back, whereas benzene will go upward. So here in this case, so we'll have equal quantity of equal percentage of benzene and toluene is there in this step 1. When you go here, 90% benzene will be here. That is here, let me say, 60% benzene is here. When you go here, again, 50, so that is 70% benzene. When you go here, 80, here 90. So when you go upward, here when it is coming, it is connected to the condenser, water condenser. So boiling point, here through this we can see thermometer, we can see the boiling point. So this is the thermometer, you can see the boiling point. So when it is constant thermometer, then collect with the help of receiver the pure benzene. After entire benzene is evaporated, now what will happen? The boiling point now will start increasing, that you can note from the thermometer. So now remove the receiver and connect another receiver. So when we have to connect another receiver, when it is reaching 110, and now collect another receiver only toluene. So we can collect separately benzene and separately toluene in pure form by using fractional distillation. Kindly follow. The next one, distillation under reduced pressure. Why this is necessary? There are some liquids, kindly follow, during distillation they will undergo decomposition. Specific example, glycerol. This is the formula. Glycerol is a dihydric alcohol. Trihydric alcohol. 3 OH groups are present. So simply if you boil, the boiling point is 298 degree at 1 atmospheric, at normal NTP, the boiling point is 298, almost 300 degree. So when you heat 300 degree, there is water, will undergo dehydration. So what will happen now? The entire compound will decompose. We cannot get in the collection, glycerol we will not get, somewhat charred form will become there. So what we have to do in that case? So we have to distill under reduced pressure. For that we need a special apparatus. Kindly follow. So what we have to apply? So we have to reduce pressure from 760 to 12 millimeter. When you reduce pressure to 12 millimeter, automatically temperature will become down 180 degree. So at 180 degree, the compound will not decompose. You can safely collect glycerol in pure form at 180 degree and 12 millimeters of pressure. The same way, this method is also applicable for sugarcane industry. Sugarcane you can crystallize purify by this method. The concentrated solution can be separated by this technique without any charring. Kindly follow. Now I will go for the apparatus. Kindly follow. So as usual, a flask having that is Y-shaped apparatus. In the one case you have the connector here. The second, the U-tube type, there is a thermometer here. Here it is closed here. There is we are keeping a anhydrous calcium chloride to so that no water come inside. So here thermometer will give the temperature connected to the water condenser. This is the receiver. Receiver side is connected to the apparatus called to decrease the suction pump is there. So that vacuum pump. So that what will happen now? The pressure will be reduced. So under high pressure, so we can get this, any liquid which decompose at ordinary temperature will collect without any decomposition. This is the special apparatus for that. Example I already explained, that is glycerol. Please follow often, this question is asked often. Then next one, steam distillation, another most important for liquids. When substances are insoluble in water, kindly follow, but soluble in steam can be purified by steam distillation. When substances means it may be liquid, it may be solid. Here that is liquids. We are coming under the liquids. When these liquids are insoluble in hot water but soluble in steam, can be purified by steam distillation. This method is useful to purify essential oil from plants and flowers, aniline, specifically manufacturing of aniline, manufacture of turpentine. So we can use the steam distillation. Kindly follow the apparatus for steam distillation. What is the apparatus? Here we are taking, kindly follow the steam generator. We are taking water and we are boiling with the help of a flame. So steam is generated and passing through this. And when it is passing through this, we are keeping a vessel like this, a vessel we are keeping in a slanting position, nearly just somewhat 60 degree. So here your impure liquid is present there. Impure liquid to be purified. So when it is going inside, the liquid gets vaporized with the help of steam, and a mixture of steam and liquid will pass over, and it will pass over through the water condenser. Here water we are passing as usual. So now we are getting through receiver we are collecting the liquid along with the water, because after cooling water vapor become water. So since it is insoluble, we told you there are two layers will be there, bottom layer and top layer. So with the help of the separating funnel we can separate. I will come later separating funnel, there I will explain. Okay, temporarily you assume this way. This is the separating funnel, kindly follow. It will be like this. So when you add this, suppose our liquid is high density, it will be bottom, low density, it will be top. So if it is high density, water will be at the top. If it is low density, water will be at the bottom. So we can separate this, collect our solvent. Please follow. This is so I can now go for next method suitable both for solids and liquids. So far we have discussed for what methods only suitable for solids, methods only suitable for liquids. There are two important methods available suitable for both solids and liquids. One is solvent extraction, another is chromatographic techniques. Kindly follow, my dear students. This is the most important, solvent extraction. What is mean solvent extraction? Suppose if you are having a mixture of two solids, A plus B. Now you take any solvent and take this mixture in a beaker and select a suitable solvent, add into that. When you are selecting, what will happen? One should be soluble, another should be insoluble. You have to select such a way. Automatically, very easy. After the stirring an entire solution, one is soluble, other is insoluble. So soluble you can you can either filter or you can decant, you can separate the solid mixture. That is solid extraction. The same way, you can even take a mixture of solid and liquid also you can separate A and B. So one is solid, another is liquid, but they are miscible with the equivalent. So you select a suitable solvent so that one of the solvent will be soluble, it will be liquid, liquid will be soluble, you can decant off, the solid will be retained in the beaker. Kindly follow. This is the method we can. And special cases, if both solids or both liquids are soluble in the solvent, then we have to follow special techniques I am going to discuss later under the solvent extraction. This is called solvent extraction. That means a mixture of two solids, a mixture of two liquids, or a mixture of solid and liquid can be separated by solvent extraction. The same way, the chromatographic is a techniques we can use for the same method. For both solid, both liquid and solid mixture can be separated in large scale in chromatography techniques. First, let me concentrate solvent extraction. Please follow. This is the apparatus. I told you the separating funnel. Separating funnel. Kindly follow. This is we are going to use. So kindly look at here. Here it is given a different color for your interest. So here suppose I am taking a solid and a mixture of two solids. Say for example a mixture of two solids. Suppose I am selecting a suitable solvent so that the organic solid is soluble in organic solvent. Kindly follow. The solvent, organic solvent that I have selected is higher, the lower density than water, so it will be the top layer. This is organic top layer. So aqueous will be at the bottom layer. Kindly follow. The other case, Suppose when I am selecting a solvent, so the organic compound will come in aqueous layer, so that will come here. So the solvent will be at the top layer. Another. So one solid, organic solid will be in upper layer, organic layer. Then another solvent in the aqueous layer, bottom layer. Kindly follow. So let me now explain, kindly follow. Under the solvent extraction, commonly used reagent in the laboratory are: one is ether, dry ether, action of dry ether. Number two, action of saturated sodium bicarbonate solution. Number three, action of 10% aqueous sodium hydroxide. Fourth, action of aqueous dilute HCl. Kindly follow, my dear students. I will explain one by one. So the ether is normally selected suitable for separation of one, the carbohydrates. Kindly note, my dear students, carbohydrate, glucose, fructose, everything, carbohydrates, aromatic amides, and diamides like urea. So these compounds are insoluble in ether. Please follow, all organic compounds are soluble in organic solvent, but these specific compound, carbohydrates, aromatic amides and diamides, that is urea, example, which is insoluble in ether. So what we have to do first step, if you want to find out whether carbohydrate or aromatic amide or diamide is present or not, take a beaker, add your organic mixture in the beaker, add ether, dry ether, stir it. If it is partially soluble, one component is soluble, other component is insoluble. When it is this is taking place, if carbohydrate is present, aromatic amide is present, urea, diamide is present, so insoluble solid will be here, and top will be solution, ether solution. So you take another beaker, decant top or filter, you will get a clear solution of ether. That is, so other organic compound will go, the carbohydrate, aromatic amide, diamide will be retained in this beaker. So this is the method we can separate by ether. Simply follow. So ether is suitable to separate carbohydrate, aromatic amides and diamide from other organic compound. Please follow. The second is the action of saturated sodium bicarbonate. Kindly follow. This is the most important. Let me explain with this. So what we have to do, action of sodium bicarbonate. So this I am giving for space for work. So to write the equation I am giving here. Let us assume now this method, kindly follow, saturated sodium bicarbonate. So how to prepare? Take a beaker and take some water required solvent. For example, 100 ml you need, take 100 ml water, add sodium bicarbonate from the packet slowly and stirring with the, so it's going on solving fastly and then slowly, then solid will not dissolve. Filter, the clear solution is called saturated sodium bicarbonate solution. So what you have to take now, you have to take this, take a separating funnel, kindly follow, take a separating funnel, and with the help of a funnel, now what you have to use, now you, that is, this is the case, kindly follow me. When I am using ether, if both solids or both liquids are freely soluble in ether, then we have to go for this step. Please follow. It is insoluble one, that is the ether method. Suppose if the both compounds are soluble in ether, I can give example, two example. One is, let me take now benzoic acid, and I can take naphthalene, a specific example, naphthalene. So structure of benzoic acid is this, and naphthalene is, both are organic of solid. This is the naphthalene. naphthalene ball. Okay, so this is an hydrocarbon, polynuclear hydrocarbon. So these both compounds are soluble in ether. So when I am taking 1 gram of mixture and in a beaker I am adding some ether, I am adding. So soluble, I added ether solution now. So what I have to take now? The equal quantity of sodium bicarbonate solution I have to use. Sodium bicarbonate saturated solution. I have to add with the help of funnel into this. So when you add this, what will happen now? After removing the funnel, I will close this. I have to shake vigorously. Then keeping the opener at the top, slowly I have to release the pressure and repeat 2 to 3 times I have to shake. So what will happen here? A chemical reaction takes place. For example, if one of the component is an aromatic acid, I told you this method, saturated sodium bicarbonate solution method, is suitable for aromatic acid. To separate aromatic acid, please follow. This is the most important. It is suitable for separation of aromatic acid. Let me take now, this is the benzoic acid. So we are treating with sodium bicarbonate. So what will happen now? Sodium bicarbonate reacts with both are in this both solid naphthalene and benzoic acid, along with it is present in the ether solution. So the ether I am mixing with aqueous sodium saturated solution of sodium bicarbonate. So what is happening? I am getting the sodium salt of sodium benzoate I am getting. This is water soluble, so soluble in water. That means, so it will come to the aqueous layer. Kindly follow. This sodium benzoic acid will be converted into sodium benzoate, will transfer from ether layer to the aqueous layer, bottom layer will come. Ether is low density at the top layer. So what you can now do? I already shown you the apparatus, separating funnel. The top layer is ether solution, bottom layer is aqueous solution. In the top layer, naphthalene is present. In the bottom layer, the sodium benzoate is there. Now, you collect the aqueous layer separately in a beaker. You collect aqueous layer separately in a beaker. Now again add a fresh quantity of 100 ml of sodium bicarbonate, repeat the process 2 to 3 times. So 100% of benzoic acid is completely transferred into aqueous layer in the form of sodium benzoate. It transfer into the beaker. So we have to recollect. What we have to do now? We have to add now CaNaCl. So when I add CaNaCl, the benzoic acid is reprecipitated. And sodium chloride is formed, it is soluble in water. So precipitated solid, I can filter out with the help of a filtering funnel, I can take it back, benzoic acid in pure form. Then, what about the ether layer at the top? Ether layer I transfer through cotton, I filter through cotton, remove the moisture, and then I will evaporate in a water bath. I should not evaporate in the naked flame, catch fire. So through water bath, then automatically after evaporation, I will get naphthalene powder. So what I am getting now? I am getting benzoic acid separately and naphthalene separately. So this experiment I have done and I have already placed in the YouTube. So if you can go and see in the Vetri Education, the channel that is there. Okay, this is the way we have to separate the aromatic acids from the mixer. So the saturated sodium bicarbonate solution is suitable to separate aromatic acid. The next, kindly follow, I told you, third reagent, action of 10% aqueous sodium hydroxide. What is 10% aqueous sodium hydroxide? So we have to take suppose the ml solution. In that, 10% solution should be sodium hydroxide. Kindly follow. 10 grams in 90 grams of water. So, is solution that is 10% solution. So, this is suitable to separate aromatic phenol. Kindly follow. Phenols can be separated. This is simple phenol. and there is dihydric phenol also. This is called resorcinol. And again, so many phenols are there: resorcinol, fluorochlorinol, etc. All these phenols, aromatic phenol, can be separated by sodium hydroxide. What will happen now? The same way sodium carbonate reacts with acid group, the sodium hydroxide reacts with replace hydrogen and forms sodium phenoxide. And the sodium phenoxide is water soluble, so come to the aqueous layer. Kindly follow. So I will write here. Suppose in the mixture again I will take naphthalene and phenol. Let me take, or I can take phenol and nitrobenzene. I will take a liquid mixture of nitrobenzene and phenol mixture I want to separate. I told you already I am adding ether 100 ml in a beaker. Both are soluble. Nitrobenzene is soluble, phenol is soluble. But now I will take this mixture as usual in the separating funnel. Kindly follow. Separating funnel. Now what happened? This is the ether layer is there. Kindly follow. This is the opening stopcock. With the help of the funnel, I am adding the ether solution. So now what I have to do? Now to separate phenol, I have to add 10% aqueous sodium hydroxide I am adding. So after adding 10% aqueous sodium hydroxide, close with the help of a stopper and close vigorously. Then keeping the opener, the bottom opener at the top, slowly release the pressure. Otherwise, the entire liquid will come out due to high pressure develop. Then this is you have to do 3 to 4 times. Then allow to separate 2 layers. So what is happening here in this case? After this shaking, what is happening? There is a mixture of 2 things, nitrobenzene and the phenol is there. So what will happen now? Nitrobenzene will be retained in the ether, top layer. Whereas sodium phenoxide, it is converted, the phenol reacts with the sodium hydroxide when you are 10% sodium hydroxide will convert into sodium phenoxide. Kindly follow. Sodium salt of the compound is water soluble. Water soluble. So it will come to the bottom layer, aqueous layer. So in the separating funnel, imagine top layer, ether layer, it is have nitrobenzene. Bottom layer, it is there your sodium phenoxide. So collect bottom layer containing your phenol. In a beaker, you collect separately bottom layer, aqueous layer. So this aqueous layer, you add again ConHCl. When you add ConHCl, kindly follow. What will happen now? So phenol will be regenerated. Phenol will be regenerated plus correspondingly sodium chloride form water soluble. So phenol, if it is a liquid, it will float over the water. If it is a solid, it will settle at the bottom. Solid means you can easily filter. If it is a liquid means, kindly follow top layer. Now you take the mixture of phenol and aqueous water. You take a fresh separating funnel, transfer into this. You take a fresh separating funnel and take into this. Kindly follow. What will happen now? The top layer ether, bottom layer aqueous. Kindly follow. So in the ether layer, you have your phenol will be there. So add some more phenol so that you collect aqueous layer separately in another beaker. You collect ether layer separately. Again, you add fresh quantity of 100 ml of ether again, shake vigorously. So repeat 2 to 3 times. You collect aqueous layer separately, and then only after collecting all the aqueous layer, add ConHCl, you will get the phenol will be generated. Then ether solution is containing your nitrobenzene as usual. Evaporate with the help of water bath. Then get back liquid, the nitrobenzene liquid, pure liquid. So we are separating nitrobenzene and phenol by this liquid. 2 liquids we can separate by this method. Kindly follow. And lastly, I will go for the next step, the action of dilute HCl. That means ConHCl and the water 1:1 ratio. You have to mix. That is dilute HCl I am calling. Aqueous dilute HCl. So this solution we have to prepare suitable for aromatic amine. Please follow. Aromatic amines, this is suitable. So this is suitable to separate for aromatic amine. How? I will explain here. Kindly follow. Suppose let me take on the aniline. This is aromatic amine. So along with I am taking nitrobenzene. So both liquids. So I am adding first trial as usual I am adding ether. Both are soluble. So soluble. So what will I do then? I will transfer in a separating funnel. I will transfer into a separating funnel with the help of a funnel. Kindly follow. That is ether layer stopcock. So what I have to use now? The aqueous solution of dilute HCl I have to add here. So when I add dilute HCl, it is aqueous layer. Here will come. This is the ether layer. So you shake vigorously. What will happen when you shake now? The base aromatic amine reacts with HCl to form corresponding ammonium salt. Let me explain. Kindly follow. What is the ammonium salt? Aniline. This is aniline. So we are treated with HCl. So what it is forming is corresponding anilinium chloride it is formed. CnH3 plus Cl minus. This is salt. Salt is water soluble. This is water soluble. So from the organic layer, it will come to the aqueous layer. You collect separately in a beaker. This is aqueous layer. Aqueous layer. The top layer is containing your other organic liquid, that is, for example, nitrobenzene or any other thing. So that will be in ether. So repeat this process 2 to 3 times, adding fresh lead 100 ml of the dilute HCl. After collecting all the aqueous layer, now add sodium hydroxide. Please follow. For the 2 cases, I added con HCl. In this case, acid, I am adding now the sodium hydroxide I am adding. Kindly follow. When I am adding sodium hydroxide, so what will happen now? The aniline is regenerated. Aniline is regenerated, corresponding ammonium chloride is formed, water soluble. So this aniline will be floating over the aqueous layer. If it's a liquid, floating over the aqueous layer, or if it is heavier, will be settled at the bottom. So what we have to do? Many aromatic amines are solid, and some aromatic amines are liquids. So what we have to do now? The entire mixture along with the amine and water, you transfer in a separating funnel. You transfer in a separating funnel. Kindly follow. You transfer into a separating funnel. Add ether excess. This is ether and this is aqueous. Kindly follow. So what you are doing now? You shake with the fresh ether. What will happen now? This aniline present in the aqueous layer will go to the organic layer because it is soluble in ether. You collect separately aqueous layer. Collect separately organic layer. You can retain at the top of the separating funnel. So you repeat again 2 to 3 times 100 ml of ether every time. Collect all this in the beaker. Then only you have to add sodium hydroxide, right? That is the procedure we follow. So now what we are taking now? After getting this, we are taking the aniline, liberated aniline, and water I am adding here, and I am adding fresh ether, I am shaking. So the aniline from the aqueous going to the ether solution. So this ether solution I will collect separately in a beaker. This is the pure aniline. Pure aniline will come in this top layer. The bottom layer I will discard. Kindly follow. Then, so this pure aniline present in ether is filtered through cotton. Then you can distill, you will get your aniline pure form. So this is the method we can follow. Kindly follow in the laboratory under solvent extractions, any mixture of two solid, two liquid, or solid and liquid can be separated by solvent extraction. I hope, my dear student, this is the most important. Kindly follow. Let me repeat. General. Ether is suitable for carbohydrates, aromatic amides, diamide that can be separated by simply ether without using separating funnel. Then action of saturated sodium bicarbonate suitable for aromatic carboxylic acid only. You can use separating funnel. Then aqueous 10% sodium hydroxide is suitable for aromatic phenol, can be separated. Aqueous dilute HCl is suitable for aromatic amines, we can separate. So any organic compound mixture can be separated by this technique called solvent extraction. Let me come for chromatographic techniques. So this method is also suitable for separation of two solid, two liquid, and liquid and solid. Kindly follow now. Under the chromatograph technique, there are two basic principles involved. One is adsorption basic principle, another is partition chromatography, we'll call it as. Adsorption basic principle, partition basic. Let me explain these two very clear way, please follow. What is adsorption? In the adsorption chromatography technique, normally by absorbing the solid mixture, one of them solid, on the adsorbent, then we can separate. In the partition chromatography, there will be two liquids will be there. Insoluble liquid. One is aqueous layer, another is organic layer. So that, and we will pass through the mixture into this layer, so we can separate. This is called partition, the chromatography technique. So, chromatography based on both this one, adsorption chromatography and partition chromatography, both principles we have. So, under the adsorption chromatography, we have two phases. One is stationary phase, another is mobile phase. Normally, stationary phase means we are using solid silicon dioxide, adsorbent, and aluminum oxide, polyamide, etc. will use. Mobile phase normally organic liquid will use. Organic liquids like benzene. Then we will use chloroform, ethyl acetate, the acetone, methanol. These are all mobile phase. Kindly follow. Now, under adsorption chromatography, two examples I will give. One is column chromatography, is an adsorption based on adsorption. Thin layer chromatography based on the adsorption technique. Okay. So this is the column chromatography. Kindly follow. So in the column chromatography, normally a hard glass tube, a burette-like will be there. There will be Corning glass, burette-like type, but the diameter is very, very high. So 2-inch diameter will be there. So that you can have 100 grams to 1 kilogram you can fill up. So what we have to do is, so this technique, column chromatography, you can develop by two ways. One is a dry method, another is the solvent method. So normally solvent method is more suitable. What we have to do now, first take a column, a burette-like, kindly follow. This is a column, Corning glass. So what I have to do now, you just fix it in a stand, because it has to vertically fix it. So first what you have to do now is set some cotton, put it some cotton. The further you have to first fill up. What is the normal solvent you will use? Normally we will use benzene, we will use a starting solvent. So fill up benzene up to this level. Now add cotton and just insert a glass rod, slowly press it so that the gap will be filled with the cotton. And this layer is cotton. And over that you can put a china dish. A dish you can place. And over that dish you can put a filter paper. So this is a filter paper. Why we are putting all these things? When you add any powder, adsorbent, silica, alumina, you should not come down to it. You should not go to the beaker or conical flask or boiling tube. You should not come out. So what you have to do now, you take a beaker, add a minimum quantity of 10 ml or 20 ml of benzene or 50 ml of benzene, add your silica powder, stir it, and with the help of a funnel, you add into this. So what will happen now? Slowly the layer will fill up. The layer will fill up with silica. So when it is reaching the particular level, it is uniformly filled. The liquid is coming out and we are collecting separately. The benzene is coming out and we are taking, because filtered through the filter paper and through the cotton, it will be collected, benzene will be collected and you can reuse for the refilling up. So when this particular level is reached, some 2 or 3 inches should be left there. Now what we have to do now, again you put a filter paper. Wattman number 1 filter paper you can put there. What will happen now? Why we are putting the filter paper? Because when we are going to add a solvent, suitable solvent, to separate the mixer, so that the layer should not be disturbed. This particular column packed layer should not be disturbed. So shock absorber, you can say. Shock absorber it is. So what we have to take? We are going to take a mixture of 2 solid or 2 liquid, or a mixture of 2 solid and liquid. So you select a suitable solvent, say for example methanol or even chloroform, a small quantity, and take and dissolve this, for example 1 gram, and then add into this layer. So you can open the stopcock such a way that it will come in dropwise. Slowly dropwise it will come. You should not allow fastly, only dropwise. So for example, 120 drops per minute, like that you can allow. So slowly. So when it is now, what is happening now? When you add this your mixture of A and B, it will go and absorb at the top layer. In the top layer, you have A plus B. Kindly follow. It may be both solid, it may be both liquid, it may be both solid and liquid. So one important information I will say, A is strongly absorbed, B is weakly absorbed. Let us assume here. A is strongly absorbed, B is weakly absorbed. So what will happen? So now after filling up, I will first add benzene 100 ml. So I should not exceed the limit. So I will add benzene. I will open this. So I will take a boiling tube or any other tubes, 20 ml each. I will collect every 20 ml. I will collect every 20 ml. So I will get a fraction 1 to some 50 fraction I have to collect. Minimum I am saying. So when I am collecting by adding benzene, what will happen? Now you can see, suppose if B weakly absorbed, there is a now fight between absorption and solubility. When you add benzene, suppose B is soluble in benzene, it will move slowly at the bottom. So which will come first? Only B will collect first, then only A. So we can going on adding. Suppose nothing is coming, you have to change over to another solvent, say for example chloroform. Normally what is the way we will use? First we will use 100% benzene. Then you try 10% chloroform under the benzene, 90% benzene, then 20% going up to pure chloroform. Then you go again. After this, you go for methanol, 10%, 20%, 30%, like this. So when because we know all organic compounds freely soluble in methanol. So when you treat methanol, what will happen? First B will come and collect, and secondly A will slowly come out. But if they are colored solid, you can see from the test tube itself, the solid will be there. If it is a liquid, the color you can see. Suppose if it is a colorless, if there is a problem. In that case, we have to get the help of thin layer chromatography to identify. Kindly follow. This is the technique used under the column chromatography to separate the 2 solid, 2 liquid, or 2 the solid and liquid. Kindly follow. So this is the thin layer chromatography. A glass plate, 5 centimeter into 20 centimeter glass plate, over which silica should be applied over that powder. silica gel, we will spray over that, some 1 or 2 millimeters, the thickness will be there. Then you select a suitable jar containing a suitable solvent, and here at the bottom, approximately, you collected the 1 to 50 fraction you are collecting. You say, for example, 1, 5, so approximately, say 8, like that you spot here. 1, with the help of capillary, you take this solution from the test tube and you insert in the glass plate, so it will absorb there. Then you put in the glass jar containing a solvent. The most important is the solvent should touch only bottom layer, but not the compound should not inside the solvent. So when the solvent moves, what will happen? Now the solute also will move top way. So from this, what we can identify? Suppose, let us assume this way: the 20th fraction. When I see now, after running at the top layer, the solvent touches here, I will use suitable form of glass plate. I have to use suitable. For example, chloroform, methanol I have to use, because only in this normally all compound will come. Chloroform, methanol. So let me say 1:1 ratio, I am putting the solvent. Suppose the 20th fraction, I am finding that there is a spot here. This is 20th, I have only one spot. So probably that is B, because weakly adsorbed will come first. Then in the 30th fraction, let me say the A is coming. So it will be here. Kindly follow. So this is faster, this is slower. And in between 20 and 30, the mixture will come out. So that you can easily identify with the help of the thin layer chromatography. Kindly follow. Here I have to introduce a new term called RF, relative to solvent front. What is RF? Let me take again. Kindly follow. This is the from bottom 5 centimeter. You spot your mixer. This is the solvent front, moved solvent. This is the solute mode. This is B, this is A. So I will measure the central distance of here, then here. So what is RF? Distance moved by solute B, first one, A, B, divided by distance moved by solvent. Always this will be in fraction. So this should be multiplied by 100 to get whole numbers. So normally in the literature, whole number will be reported at a particular temperature. So that is this RF value. RF is the characteristic of any solid. Kindly follow. The same way, the A can be, again we can do the distance moved by solute, you measure A divided by distance moved by solvent, again will give the RF of this one. So kindly follow. Weakly adsorbed will be faster in movement and strongly adsorbed will be the slower one. We can very easily separate. So you just find out in which fraction only B is present, you mix together and you collect all the test tube containing only A separately and combine. After combining, then you evaporate the solution, you get back your pure solid. So in between there is a mixer and that mixer you can repeat again until to separate A and B. This is the method we can separate actually using the even thin layer chromatography we can identify, separate, that is the preparative thin layer chromatography. But here I am giving distance RF, this is to identify before going for column chromatography, only with the help of the thin layer chromatography, we have to identify what solvent we have to use for column chromatography. Because only this will guide you. So which solvent you have to select for column chromatography. Same way, so these column chromatography and thin layer chromatography based on adsorption principle. Whereas for the paper chromatography, it is based on the partition chromatography. What is paper? There is a Wattman number, one paper is available in any commercial industry. So you take Wattman number paper, cut 5 centimeter and 20 centimeter with the help of the cutting machine. Normally we will cut suitably. So in the bottom, you can 5 centimeter, you draw a line with a paper pencil. As usual, what you have to do now, select again, as in the thin layer chromatography, use again suitable solvent of chloroform and water, chloroform and methanol mixer. You have to select a suitable solvent. That means 90 is to 10 like this, 1:1, whatever method you try, so that your mixer should separate clearly. One will have higher RF, other will have lower RF. Only that solvent you have to use for the column. So in the paper chromatography also you can use for this one. Comparatively thin layer chromatography, the paper chromatography is faster and cheaper, readily available. You can get the result immediately. So what we have, again you have to keep as usual in the form of a cylinder. You have to keep inside. With the help of a stick you can use. Putting a hole, you can take a suitable solvent, selected solvent, you can use here. That solvent we are selecting with the help of thin layer chromatography. Kindly follow. So what will happen now? Suppose I am taking the mixture, suitable solvent, same way as in the case of thin layer chromatography. Here let me explain what is paper chromatography. In the paper, water will be first will be it will be going there. So it will be absorbed over that, or any solvent like methanol will be absorbed over. So that will be as a stationary phase. In the thin layer chromatography, absorbed silica is stationary phase, solvent is the mobile phase. Same way here, the paper absorbed with the water or methanol is a stationary phase. Over an organic liquid is moving in the mobile phase. When it is moving, it will also take the solute also. So as usual, measure the distance between the solute and the starting point, and the solvent and the starting point. And again, you can find out R of the substance. So distance moved by solute divided by distance moved by solvent will give the RF value. That will be always less than 1. Multiply by 100 to get the whole number fraction, from fraction to whole numbers. So here between two liquids it is there. Kindly follow. So that is the thin layer chromatography. That is, paper chromatography. In the paper chromatography, there are 3 types. Ascending paper chromatography. Descending means you can keep a jar like this so that you can fold the paper at the top. So you can fold a jar like you can take, and there will be a layer. You can have a jar here. So you fold a big paper, you can fold here and put a glass rod, and the paper will come down and just hanging like this. So solvent from here this is the layer. We have separated band for the separation of mixer. You can use, even paper can be used. Okay? Chromatography. Paper chromatography can be used in milligram scale to separate the mixer. So from this tank, the required solvent will come out. So you will get 2 layers like this. Kindly follow. 1 layer here, 2 layers here, so that you can take a paper, cut the layer separately, and you can put it into suitable solvent, boil it, filter, and evaporate, will get back. So it's a preparative paper chromatography. So descending. And there is also circular or radial chromatography also. So this paper chromatography, it is purely based on partition chromatography, a basic principle. Kindly follow. That means, let me tell now clearly, what is the partition chromatography? Please follow, my dear students. When a solute is distributed between 2 immiscible solvents, a solute is distributed between 2 immiscible, let me say water, or let me say carbon tetrachloride. This is water. When a solute is distributed, so let me use now iodine. When a solute iodine is distributed into this water and carbon tetrachloride, the carbon tetrachloride is high density bottom layer, water top layer, and then add 1 gram of iodine, and then you can use as the separating funnel, shake well, collect separately the carbon tetrachloride layer, collect separately water layer, and from that you can just titrate iodine versus sodium sulfate. sodium thiosulfate using torch as an indicator. You can identify the concentration of iodine in water, concentration of carbon tetrachloride. So now what is the partition coefficient? That is, the partition coefficient is nothing but the concentration of one solvent divided by other solvent is constant. Partition coefficient. The law of partition coefficient says that the ratio of concentration of solute in one solvent divided by other solvent is constant. This is normally given in BH level experiment. Kindly follow. I hope this will be enough for the separation. So before concluding, I will take some 5 to 10 minutes. Sorry, I am taking too much of time this unit. There is no other way. I cannot split into two. So, what are the differences between organic and inorganic compound? You must know. Because then only you can use separation of organic compound. Mainly, number one, organic compounds contain mainly carbon, hydrogen and oxygen, rarely other elements. Whereas, inorganic compound, any two or more different elements from the periodic table. Bonding. Generally, organic compound covalent bond is present. In the case of ionic bond is present. Coming for physical properties like melting and boiling. Generally, organic compounds have low melting and boiling point. Generally, inorganic compounds have high melting and boiling points. Kindly follow. Solubility in water. Generally insoluble. Organic compounds are insoluble. Except some few lower number like methanol, ethanol, etc. water will be soluble. But all other solvent, water is insoluble. But here, inorganic compound generally soluble in water. In organic solvent, generally all soluble, I told you already, except carbohydrate, for the aromatic amide and diamide, it is insoluble organic solvent. Generally insoluble in organic solvent. Combustibility, catch fire immediately. Generally highly volatile in nature, so they catch fire immediately. Combustible in nature. Generally, inorganic compounds are non-combustible. Conductivity. Generally, conductivity, organic compounds are molecules, so they are bad conductors of heat and electricity. Ionic compounds are the ions, so good conductors of heat and electricity. Coming for reactivity, generally reaction involving organic compounds are slow due to molecular nature. Here, generally reactions are faster due to ionic nature in the case of inorganic compound. Catenation is a very characteristic property of organic compound. Generally, catenation is possible in organic compound. Generally, catenation is not possible in organic compound. What is catenation? Large number of carbon atoms undergo catenation to produce the organic compounds. For example, alkane, the acid, etc. Carbon number may be 1 to 30, 40 like that, it is there. It is called catenation. The next one, homologous series. Generally, homologous series possible in organic compounds, generally not possible. What is homologous series? So, organic compounds, let me say what are the characteristics of homologous series. So, all members of same family will be having a characteristic same general formula, represented by same general formula. For example, in the case of alkanes, I can use CnH2n plus 2 for alkane. For alkene, CnH2n. Alkyne, CnH2n minus 2. So, like this, all homologous series of compound will have a same general formula, represented by same general formula, and they will have same method of general method of preparations, same physical and chemical properties. And most important among them all, the successive member will differ by CH2 group. Let me give a specific example. Suppose methane, CH4, ethane, hydrocarbon, saturated hydrocarbon, alkane. See, the difference is CH2. Same way, for example, you take formic acid, HCOH, and acetic acid, the difference is CH2. So, from the member, the homologous lower member to higher member, the successive member will differ by CS2. This is called homologous series. Then coming for isomerism, generally possible in organic compounds, generally not possible in organic except in coordinated compound. You will be studying in +2 level. Kindly follow. And what is isomerism? I will take later in detail. Let me give definition alone. Compounds having same molecular formula but different physical and chemical properties are called isomer, and the phenomenon exhibited by this isomer is called isomerism. That is example. Simple example I can give now. Ethyl alcohol and diethyl ether. Ethyl alcohol and dimethyl ether, same molecular formula C2H6O. So isomerism. The final I will come back. Polymerization. Generally organic compound undergo polymerization, whereas inorganic compound will not undergo polymerization. So for simple example, vinyl chloride undergo polymerization to give PVC, polyvinyl chloride. Isoprene undergo polymerization to give rubber. So this is the difference between the organic and inorganic compound. My dear students, thank you very much for your patience. So this unit takes a little longer time than expected because I have to give all useful information to you. Kindly excuse for that. And the students who are viewing for the first time, please on my YouTube channel, click like, share with your friends and press subscribe button. And the students who are waiting for NEET entrance examinations, kindly view our Vetri Daughters. It is online posted by our coaching center, Vetri Coaching Center, working from Pondicherry for the last 20 years. And if you go for the home page, you can see all our achievements. Every year we are sending 15 to 20 GPR students and 150 to 200 students to other medical colleges. And in 2003, our student R. Srinivasa Raghavan stood for All India first rank. He got All India first rank in Japan. Okay, before concluding, I want to give 3 important features of Vetri Daughters online port, our online site. Number 1 feature is, it is having the 200 video lessons and 200 unit test. This is lesson, this is test. So any lesson you want to know, any doubt, you can go and see the video. In test here, unit wise it is there. Each unit have 2 tests, so you can attend the test. What is the importance of this test means? All the questions are framed from the previous 20 years of question papers of IIT, AIMS, AFMC, APMT, MSET, Andhra, Delhi, etc. So that most of the questions, nearly every year we observed for the last 6 years, 75 to 80 questions are repeated. Same questions are repeated in the NEET entrance examination conducted Government of India. Please follow. So because of Vetri Daughters, you will get 300 plus. And based on your capacity and skill and your hard work, you can get 300 plus. So definitely you will get 600 plus. You will become a doctor, 100% guarantee. This is the first important feature. The second is, we have in the Vetri Daughters, we have a review in there. This is not available in any other online feature. Kindly follow. What is the review? So if you attend the test, there is a key. The attempt. Click attempt. It will ask question. Are you ready? It will show that for 45 questions, 45 minutes you have to complete. Each correct question, correct answer 4 marks. Wrong answer -1. Are you ready? Please okay. Then immediately first question will open. In the first question, kindly follow. Question will be displayed. Then option A, option B, option C, option D will be there. Below that, you can see there question number 1 to 45 question number will be there. Question number will be there in yellow color. So, the first question, suppose you are clicking the number 1 question. So, what will happen now? The yellow color change into green color. The second question will become blue color. That means you are going to attend. So, you yourself identify during attending the test what question you have attended, what question you have not attended. So, another below that, we have a menu that is called complete. Right side again called next, and this side you will get reverse. So comment the complete at the center, next right side, reverse left side. See, next you go forward to the next question, reverse go back to the question. So when you are going for, if you do question you do not know, don't worry, go for next question up to 45. Then by seeing the question number, whatever yellow color mean that you have not attended the question, you just click that question, you can try for the correct answer. So this facility is not available in any online in India. Please follow. This is the important feature of our vetted daughters. The third most important is the low cost. Low cost. That is only 10,000 rupees per year we are collecting. So students who are studying +1, +2 or +2 complete students, you can join, pay by 10,000 rupees in the name of Santi, Indian Bank account number 712719471, IFC code IDIB 000P134, and the cell number, any doubt if you want to clarify, 98941 76425. Thank you very much. See you again in the next class. Bye.